Like Samuel, although it's 2 books in our Bible, the ancient Hebrew text, the Hebrew Bible, considers it 1 book, the Book of Kings. And in this book, as with the book of Samuel, we're going to find that the narrator is consistently measuring Israel's kings and Judah's kings against the standards that were set in the book of Deuteronomy by Moses. So Deuteronomy 17 gave us a list of qualifications for kingship. And you're going to notice that it doesn't matter how successful a king was in the world's eyes. They might build massive palaces and be very successful in military exploits, but if this king does not hold to the Torah of Yahweh, if he considers himself better than his fellow Israelites, or if he worships other gods, then his entire kingship is going to be evaluated negatively. God isn't concerned with the same metrics of success that the surrounding nations are concerned with. And so we're going to notice that there's a consistent pressure being applied to the histories of all these kings to see whether they are faithful to the Word of God. One thing is very clear that emerges: covenant unfaithfulness, which we're going to see over and over again, leads to exile for both kingdoms. While in the book of Samuel, all Israel is united under one king, in the book of Kings, we're going to observe a split into a northern and southern kingdom. And both of those kingdoms are going to be dragged into exile by enemy nations because of their covenant unfaithfulness to Yahweh. That's what opens them up to vulnerability to enemy nations. God withdraws his protection, and so these other nations are able to get the upper hand. After Solomon's death, the kingdom splits in 2. His son Rehoboam becomes king in the south, in the nation of Judah. And the book of Kings is not all that interested in tracking with the kings of Judah. It's more interested in the apostate kings of Israel. There are about 20 kings that rule over each kingdom, and all 20 of the northern kings are bad. They're assessed as being wicked kings. So they have varying degrees of wickedness, kicked off but by the very first king, Jeroboam. Jeroboam's first order of business is to build not 1, but 2 golden calves. And he sets them up at Dan in the north and Bethel in the south of the nation of Israel, the territory of Israel. And he encourages the Israelites to worship at those golden calves so that they don't have to cross the border into Judah and bring their shekels and spend them elsewhere. He's trying to consolidate power in the north. Another notable king in the north is King Ahab. He's famous for the Elijah stories. Ahab and Elijah become counterparts or opponents to each other. Elijah is one of the prophets that God raises up to speak truth to power, and Ahab doesn't want to hear it, and he spends his entire reign trying to eliminate prophets of Yahweh and trying to establish the worship of Baal, partly under the influence of his wife. Another notable king is Jehu, towards the end of Israel's time in the land. Jehu is a very violent king, and he too is trying to consolidate power by murdering possible rivals to the throne. And his reign overlaps with the prophet Elisha. So really the core of the books of 1st and 2nd Kings, the central section, focuses almost predominantly on the ministries of Elijah and Elisha. So although the book is called Kings, we have a very strong prophetic presence. And this also helps us make sense of why this book is part of the former prophets. This is where we see the prophetic ministry really coming to fruition. So of the 20 kings of Judah in the south, 8 of them are positive examples. They make a strong attempt to be faithful to the covenant. But in spite of their faithfulness, it's not enough to prevent an exile of the southern kingdom, because overall there's so much unfaithfulness going on. And so during the reign of Manasseh, the Lord decides, you've gone too far. Now I'm forced to send you into exile and hit the reset button on this project of setting up my kingdom in the land of Israel. So at the end of 2 Kings, we see the the southern kingdom dragged into exile by the Babylonians. So part of what we're going to do in this series of sessions on kings is not only kind of follow this literary design and track with the narratives, but we're also going to think about what's going on historically and try to make sense of the wider historical context in which these stories take place.